In this unit, Localization Ii, Types, we will see software localization, website localization, and video game and mobile device localization. We can find 4 traditional types of localization: software, websites, video games, and mobile devices, determined by all the different platforms and operating systems. The first 2 are the ones that have the most technical levels and have the greatest impact on project management, as well as being the ones related to the objectives of this subject. For this reason, both will be studied separately, though the other 2 can be considered as a subset of the former in some way. Although they have their own peculiarities, localization of video games and mobile devices has its starting point in the components of computer software, albeit with their own formats and with modules that go beyond them, such as multimedia, video, audio, and the like, which have different strategies and techniques. In software localization, the graphical user interface is probably the most critical component of the software, and the one that requires the most expertise. The traditional process of translating Windows resource files is usually a complex process with many steps. This method consists of performing all translation and engineering activities on the source code. In the binary file localization approach, all activities focus on the compiled modules of the application, rather than the source code files that are presented in the compilation process. It is usually done on a what you see is what you get environment. The components of the GUI are menus, dialog boxes, and strings, which are messages and other minor components. Help files in HTML format have become the de facto standard within Windows and, if necessary, can be adapted for use as internet pages. The localizable HTML help files are the HTML files, which compose the body of the text, the HHC file, which structures the table of contents, the HHK file, which structures the index, the HHP file, which controls the structure and compiling of the full help. All of them, once compiled, generate the CHM file, which contains the complete online help. Printed documentation, together with online help, takes the bulk of the translation effort. Typically, software products are often accompanied by a wealth of printed or electronic material that makes up the general documentation. In most cases, this text can be converted into on-screen help by easily simple conversion procedures in order to alleviate the print and production of such documentation. Regardless of the internal standards or the style defined by the hardware manufacturer or software producer, the set of manuals delivered with them usually conforms to the traditional patterns of chapter structure, corresponding indices, covers, back covers, etc. But they are featured by certain very important aspects that can facilitate or complicate the process of translation and management of the whole documentation. The other major type of localization usually refers to websites, a specialty that is growing rapidly due to the ever-increasing deployment of products and offers on the internet. The great technological development has led to the emergence of new formats that can be included in or linked to websites, not to mention the influx of social networks. But the basic approach to localization of these sites has not changed much. A static website does not change its contents or changes it very little. In contrast, a dynamic website changes a lot, quickly and even regularly, and often contains animations. The biggest difficulty for a localizer is that in dynamic pages, the contents are in databases to which access is probably forbidden. In static pages, the content is in local folders with fixed addresses, while in dynamic pages, the path is more complicated and can refer to different types of documents or formats. In the latter, there are boxes to fill in and their extensions may be different from HTML, PHP/SAP or JSP, for example. The basis of websites is designed using these 2 markup languages, HTML and XML. Both are markup languages derived from the original SGML, that is, the first general markup language. The first essential difference between the two is the extent of their respective tag sets. XML is an extensive markup language. For example, the creator can organize content with their own tags. HTML, on the other hand, is defined by W3C standards, so tags cannot be modified and always have the same behavior. XML language is concerned with structuring and ordering data. Therefore, XML documents can be passed from one application to another without any problems. HTML is the most widely known and used tag language for document distribution on the Internet, mainly because of the simplicity it allows in the use and development of web content. Unlike XML, it is static, and when a browser receives a page in HTML, it can display the page, but it does not understand the meaning of the content. CSS files contain the formatting and layout information for websites and centralize the formatting of the HTML tag set. This avoids repetition of formatting content in the HTML files of the website by linking to these files which act as a formatting template. It also makes websites less cumbersome and makes it easier to separate localizable text from non-translatable code elements. JavaScript files add dynamism to websites and execute one action or another according to the user's choice. They have their own syntax. Video game localization is actually a derivative of software localization, since it shares many formats, to which it adds multimedia elements that do not necessarily impact the localization process. Video game localization is defined as the process of adapting the content of a video game for a specific region linguistically and culturally, so that the users of the localized versions enjoy the same experience as those for whom it was originally conceived. One of the features of these games focuses on the culturalism of their content, which can require a very complex internationalization effort. An important difference has to do with the functionality of the product, as achieving this aspect in a localized version of a video game is much more complicated than in a software application, as it requires a great deal of originality and creativity. Due to the ever-changing advances in information technology and the devices that makes it possible, this field is one of galloping variety. Many of these applications are originally derived from software products that are adapted to these platforms while retaining many of the features and functionalities with some restrictions, although there are also those that are specific to their respective platforms. As a general rule, mobile applications follow the same internationalization principles as other software. However, due to the special nature of mobile phones, some of these principles have to be considered in a more special way. The source text is usually produced in a way that fits on small screens, and it is one of the biggest challenges in this type of localization, as it is a very subordinate type of translation. I hope you enjoyed this unit. You can complete this introduction with the materials available in the platform. See you in the next video.